Okay. Hello and welcome back to a new and improved, kind of, maybe, Pyrotech video. My name's Jay, and yeah, it's been over a year since my last video. I think you can guess why, but just in case, we had this small thing called a pandemic, and the whole world went to shit. But never fear, we are back, and I'm recording, even though I've had to stop and start a bajillion times because there's stuff going on outside, but we'll persevere. If you hear background stuff, just get over it. I will try. I can't promise I will, but I will try. So anyway, I got a comment on a video that I did a while ago regarding a cheap sound upgrade. So the ability to record into a computer or laptop in this case that wasn't going to cost a fortune. In actual fact, it wasn't going to cost much of any fortune whatsoever. I believe the maximum was £40. Now, in one example, I can get there quite comfortably. The other example, we're about £6 over. Now, the beginning part of this audio has been captured on an Elgato Wave 1. And what I want to do is I want to be able to give you a decent point of reference, which is going to be the wave, and then I'm going to show you the two options I've come up with to answer this question. I'm not going to go over statistics or specs in regards to the Wave 1 because I don't think it's necessary. I think it's far better for you guys to hear what it sounds like for me to ponder on about ohms and bit depth and everything in between. Easily lookupable, not easily sayable. Anyway, so yes, this is the Wave 1. Now what you're going to be hearing is the USB-C microphone that I have plugged into my Samsung Note 10, which is my mobile phone. A lot of people do record directly onto their phones, and in actual fact, the pickups and microphones in phones has gotten infinitely better over the last couple of years, and in actual fact, I would always suggest you start there first. Record yourself speaking, see how you sound, make a judgment call on that. You can always do some processing, although you're not going to be able to do much on a recording directly from your phone microphone because you are going to be limited by the actual quality and, to use that term again, bit depth. But using a USB-C or a Lightning or whatever connection point your phone has is often a much more viable way of having a significant uptick in audio than going whole hog and spending hundreds of pounds and potentially not getting as good of a significant upgrade compared to the money as you would do by doing this. I think this is perfectly good enough for a talking head or not for live streaming per se, but if you're doing an interview or something like that, more than applicable. Okay, so this one in particular is made by a company called PC Hero. It's one of a million companies on Amazon and every electrical kind of retailer that is making USB-C or Lightning lavalier microphones. And basically, essentially, you just clip it onto the talent, that's me, and plug it into your phone, and then you use either the inbuilt voice recorder, which is often more than usable on any device. It doesn't matter if it's iOS or Android. But there are also dozens and dozens of programs, both free and paid, that you can record onto. I'm not going to recommend any. Go out there, do your research, read your reviews, and make a decision based on that. But I'd always start on the free route and then just kind of go from there. It has this handy-dandy clip. If I just take it off without causing much of a disturbance, I might flick back to the Wave 1 just for a moment. So that's it right there. And then it's just basically on a cable that then connects into my actual phone itself. And then you clip it onto a bit of your clothing, or maybe some chest hair or a nipple, depending on how kinky you want to be with it. And then away you go. Press record and record the audio there. You can record the video separately, obviously, and then match that in post. You can sync everything up. Again, we'll compare this just very quickly from this to the actual audio from my camera. So the Panasonic GX8, which when I bought it was like £700, this is going to be far better audio than the audio you'll get off your actual camera. Okay, so the second choice I have is slightly more expensive. It is £6 out of the budget that was kind of theoretically set, but I think it's worth the investment. I really wholeheartedly say that. And I think I've been surprised at how robust this little unit is. So it's basically a audio interface, microphone, XLR cable, and pretty much the cheapest, not terrible microphone I could find. Two of them are made by Behringer. Now that might strike fear into a lot of hearts. And in actual fact, I watched some reviews about this unit before I actually kind of get into it, and it kind of scared me a little bit. But to be honest with you, from my experiences, either one or two things has happened. Either they got a unit that was dodgy, they weren't connecting it properly, or they were flat out so biased against Behringer as a company and so dismissive of people's budgetary abilities that they just completely shit can the entire thing, which I'm not going to do. So the item I'm talking about is the Behringer U-PHORIA UM2. Now there are newer versions of this, but strictly speaking, this is £30 audio interface, and you cannot get cheaper than this really without plunging into the depths of Chinese clones and knockoffs that are probably going to burn your house down. I teamed it up with a Stag XLR cable and a Behringer Ultra Voice, which I just so happen to have because I bought 3 of these for a ridiculously cheap price about 3 years ago because I was doing some podcasting stuff. Now, 3 of these cost me about £20 at the time, and you can pick up one of these for £11.82. So £30 for the audio interface, we'll call it £12 for the microphone, and then another £6 for the XLR cable. Now, the Behringer itself, the build quality is not fantastic, i.e. if you like plastic, then you'll probably like this. It's not great plastic, but it's for £30. I cannot complain. I have seen far worse for far more. Let's be honest with you. So it's built okay, and you're going to hear me say okay a lot. But when you actually hear it, then hopefully that will kind of change your mind. So this is me speaking into the Behringer Ultra Voice microphone, going into the UM2 U-PHORIA audio interface by Behringer. Now, I would say, well, what I'll do is I'll cut between me speaking into this microphone, and then in a little while, what I'll do is I'll flick back to the USB-C microphone, and then I'll flick it onto the actual Wave one as well. Flick on, that sounds disgusting. But it's just so you can actually have a point of reference. Because if I can start comparing this to £200 microphones into £600 interfaces, or into, say, like my Zoom H6, which is £360 on its own, I don't think that's a fair comparison, and I don't think that's going to be meaningful to you who's watching this. I think having 2 options, one that's way below the budget that was set for me, and one that slightly peaks over the top of the budget, compared to something that definitely is out of the budget, but close enough that we can use it as a yardstick, as it were. So the Ultra Voice microphone, it's cheap, it's cheerful, it has an on and off switch, it is a dynamic microphone, it doesn't matter if you stick phantom power through it, it's not going to blow up, it's not going to do anything special, but it actually does a decent job of capturing your voice. It's not overly sensitive to plosive, so but I am wary, I am holding it kind of below. Sometimes it's good to kind of tuck it just beneath your bottom lip, just so it's not in direct line of the actual plosive, but just holding it just below and having it at a decent enough gain level is absolutely fine. Stag cables, I'm not using them at the moment. I've actually got a Muji one myself, which are far more expensive, but they give you a lower kind of... They can affect the amount of electrical interference that allows into the signal path, and also just in general rejects a lot of crap that you'll kind of get from power and various things that matter not to this video. But stag cables are pretty reliable, to be honest with you. I've only had one ever go wrong with me, and I used to use them quite exclusively. And the actual audio interface itself, I'll run through it really quickly. So essentially, it's a 2-in, 2-out. What that means is you have an XLR well, it's a combo jack essentially. So you can either have a 1/4 inch or an XLR going into the first input, and then you have a 1/4 inch which goes into the second input. So if you're recording vocals and a guitar, then this is perfect for that. It has independent gain for each on top of the actual unit, which is a very kind of cheap knob, for want of a better description. They're not fantastic. I much prefer faders, but at this price point, I have no room to complain. They do what they say they do. They go from 0 to 11. That's all I care about. The third knob in our trio of knobs is basically for your output gain. So you're using headphones like I'm using right now. You can actually adjust the level to make sure you can hear everything. On the front, you can switch between latency-free monitoring. So if you're saying you're speaking and you want to hear your voice and you don't want to be able to be crashing vocals, so basically if there's a delay, it's almost impossible for you to continue speaking coherently without you listening to yourself like a 1/4 of a second later. So you're able to turn that on and off. It will indicate whether phantom power is enabled or not by a little red signal. It has a normal power 1/4 inch out for your headphones, and then you have basically two lights, one green, one red. The green one will basically say whether it can detect signal coming into through the pickups. They use Zenith pickups, by the way, which are not fantastic, but they're not the worst. There are far noisier preamps in the world, and in actual fact, I did try this with my Rode, which is it's a dynamic microphone, and it's very gain hungry. And although I wouldn't suggest pairing these together, it was able to do a decent enough job that I wouldn't be mad at it. I used to have a Behringer USB mixing desk, a 1204, and the preamps on that were atrocious compared to this, and that was 120, 130 pounds. So if I'd have known about this back then, I'd have probably picked this up just on the basis of that alone. I've learned over time that the vast majority of people that are at this price point that are just getting started don't give a shiny rat's arsehole about what the real specifics of kind of the audio signature, what its impedance is. They just care about how it sounds. Can I afford it? Will it improve what I have at the moment? And I think if you're moving up from very basic gear and you wanting to kind of take that next step up, you could do far, far worse from this. Because believe me, you could take this and you have it with a laptop, you could pair it with a PC, a Mac, and you can put in a plethora of microphones. You don't have to be stuck with this combo, and that's the whole point of going down the audio interface route, is it allows you to then possibly, when you're further down the line, upgrade your microphone. Then further down the line you can then upgrade the interface or upgrade the actual XLR cable. It gives you that kind of flexibility for you to choose where you want to put your investment into. And that's pretty much it. There's not much else I can really say about it. I would say if I had the choice of these two, I would go for the interface. No matter what your budget, there is going to be some sort of solution out there for you. And do your research. Don't cripple yourself and buy the best stuff just because you've heard your favorite kind of YouTuber or Twitch streamer use it or rave about it. That's why so many people own Shure SM7Bs that don't need them. It's not the microphone that makes you, it's the content that actually makes you. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away from that. But anyway, I've waffled on far too much. Welcome back. It's good to have you back. I'm glad to be back. And hopefully the next video won't be, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable whilst recording it. But until that time, my name's Jay. I'll catch you in the next one.